Alright, so we're going to continue on with this part like I said we would. So we got pretty much the entire sculpt down. The only bit that I'm going to do now is add that little circle piece, which is about right here. It's probably about a third of the way down this upper leg. So I'm just going to kind of circle it in, and again, I guess it doesn't really have to be like, oh, you can't see any seam lines right here because it's whatever. Like, it's not supposed to be like that. You can see the seam lines because it looks so in the artwork as well. So then, just like we did up here with that little area on the hand, I'm going to put green like that, and just circle it really slowly, I guess, because there we go. So it should be like that, and I think I'm going to use the side of the toothpick just to kind of bring it down a little more. I think it was kind of going out a little too far. Maybe flatten it a little bit. That's pretty good, like that. That's about what it looks like on the game cover. So it'll look like this. Nice. All right. So now I think I'm going to do some detail work here, and it looks like this is going on. So this is the inside of the leg. Line down. Try to get closer to the camera, and then there's one. This is really hard to do. There's two rings of indent. Like that. There's two, and I did that pretty sloppily. So my bad. But you can do it a lot cleaner. And like that. So I guess I'm not sure how much of this we're actually going to see on the model, but it would be nice just to have anyway, to say that we did it. And I mean, you can see some of that anyway. I'm going to kind of make that a little bit thinner. Make sure you keep that depth in there, like we were talking about. I don't want to flatten that too much, but I would say like that. And I guess when you're doing the line work again, be careful. But kind of as I've been saying, like if you actually find like a 360 model of Samus or whatever, this is like the technique that I would recommend using. I'm just kind of going on just what I can see on the cover here, and I'm sure it's not entirely completely accurate, but this is what it would, this is the technique to use, or the technique that I would recommend using. And if some detailing of mine is off, then you can just use this technique to etch in your own lines. But that's kind of what I would do. So yeah, camera is really not focusing right now. There we go. But what was I going to move on to now? I guess I will continue down with the with the leg. They'll probably be the next best thing, and yeah, let's do that. Flip my game box over. So we're gonna make this part right now. So just like we did with every other kind of joint in this, I'm going to do the same thing and put a black piece of clay right here because it's going to again really help us with the joint right there. So I don't believe there's any yellow on this part. I believe it's all the brown color. So let me gather my brown clay and get going. So I think doing this was actually a good idea because I will probably just have enough of this brown clay to finish this clay model, which is good. So I know that there's like this huge indent right here, and then this thing goes really high up, like that. And again, I'm kind of just using my sculpting techniques and what I can tell based on the artwork to just sculpt this. And you guys can, I hope when I kind of when I kind of freestyle like this, just kind of just when I kind of just like freeform, go for it. I hope you guys can kind of follow me. But the shape is kind of like this, and we can make sure that's a good size. I'm not really sure what would be considered a good size here. I guess I'm going to need the rest of these pieces. And then that would go right there. And then this would go, I'm actually pretty happy with that. I think it needs a little work, but that's a good start to the size anyway. So, yeah, the shape is pretty much like this. With that indent on the inside, like that. That's what I would go for. And before we start doing anything else, though, I know there are some like this that we did right with the green right here on the leg. I know those are on the sides of the legs as well. So using a little indent, we can just kind of put our finger in there and kind of add it on. So just from looking at what we have left, I would say the biggest challenge so far is, or right now, is going to be to get this to stand up. I'm really glad we made it in pieces like we did because I have a pretty good idea on how we can do that. Yeah, and I know, but in the past I've tried to assemble models and they've fallen over in the oven, so I'm really glad that we still have this in pieces. I hope yours is still in pieces too. We can probably leave this arm one, or maybe you want to know what? I'm just gonna separate it for now. So this is what we got so far. Just throwing that out there, kind of right now. Little side note. And yeah. So now we added these. Gonna put the green right there. Boop. And you're gonna put the green on the other side too. Boop. Like that. Make sure that's a looks good. I'm gonna go for it. And then it looks like I guess we shouldn't do the. Actually, I don't. I guess we can go for the detailing next because it doesn't look like there's much more. So we can go here, here. So we got this, like that, kind of pointed. Then we got 1, 2 on that side, and then 1, 2 on this side. So it's 4 kind of in total. And then there are some green areas. Right here, I believe. Yeah, I would say like right at the beginning, kind of this. That. And then on the other side as well. So that it looks like that. Try to make them as even as you possibly can. I know mine are a little lopsided again, doing this in the air, but I think it's pretty good the way it looks. That. And it does look like there's a line, a really thin line down the middle. So I'm just going to make that really kind of thin. Probably almost use just the side of the toothpick. Anyway, now it looks like we're at the. I would say that's probably it for the leg. Let me just see exactly how that looks compared to everything else. I would say that's really good. So now we just got the shoes going on. Back to this, and I really hope I don't run out of clay. I only got this much left, which, hard to believe we used a whole block of brown. But in the past, I remember I always ran out of the orange when I was sculpting Samus. Again, the orange, the brown, whatever you want to call it. So, I'm going to roll things into a circle again, and flatten it, I guess. And kind of do that trick that I did with Sonic, which is like poke a hole and then you just kind of push it outward, and then that kind of creates like that little like effect in the shoe or whatever, you know, whatever you call that. Oh, I was kind of way off camera, my bad. But I put the clay in, or I put the toothpick in, pulled it out, and then just kind of started you know, manipulating the clay to be the right size. That's maybe a little too thick. Pull these sides a little bit. It's a pretty good size. I like how that looks. It's pretty good. And see, that's a pretty good size, I think. Maybe a little too big. It's kind of hard to tell. I wish I kind of, because I think you know the legs and the feet are pretty much going to be the whether or not this model stands up or not. So I would really like to make this stand up. So I'm going to use the leg here to kind of help with this. And I guess you could actually, once you sculpt it, I guess there's no reason not to connect it. So I guess I'm going to connect it, and you might want to use a toothpick actually to connect the leg with the foot, or this lower part of the leg. But I'm going to avoid the toothpick, but I would probably recommend a toothpick. And the only reason why I'm not going to use one is because I was going to say, if you were to sculpt the foot entirely and then use a toothpick to connect it, it would be easier because you wouldn't, you know, be ruining all this detail work and like, you know, like I'm kind of doing. But I want to make sure this stands up, so I'm going to try and find a good size first, and then I would say this is pretty good. This is looking pretty good. I might just... Alright, I would say this looks pretty good, and then I'm kind of gonna sculpt it a little better. Like that. I would say that's a... Just trying to see here. I would say that's a pretty good size, and I probably said that 4 times and then proceeded to change the size, and I broke my toothpick. It's okay, I got more where those came from. But I don't know, it's really hard to kind of sculpt this. Because it's at a weird angle on the box, and it's kind of hard to figure out how big it should be compared to everything else, and how it's going to have to, you know, help the model stand up and stuff. So I think maybe we're in good shape there. Next time, we're going to finish up the details on that, and do a couple other things too.